This video will demonstrate the process of documenting the percentage of low to moderate income persons within a specific service area for a given project when pursuing community development block grant funding. During this video, I will refer to low to moderate income as LMI, and I will use the acronym CDBG to refer to Community Development Block Grant. This will encompass all variations of CDBG funding, including CDBG-DR, CDBG-CV, or any future sources that are tied back to the CDBG National Objective Regulations. It is important to accurately define both the service area and the population of a project that seeks to show CDBG eligibility through LMI area benefit. This would not be applicable to projects that are only benefiting a specific population or household. First, an applicant for funds must know the area that will be served by the project. Then, that information is used to calculate the LMI percentage within the defined service area. An application for CDBG funds must include a clear description of the service area of the project. This is not a science. It is the applicant's best guess at the area intended for service. This analysis should be done by the subject matter experts for the type of project being proposed. For example, the service area for a stormwater-related project would be established by a municipality's public works department, while a park service area would be established by a park department. The determined service area should be well supported in both narrative and map forms. There are three things to consider: the nature of the activity, the location of the activity, and any barriers impacting those that would be served. Some projects will only benefit a small neighborhood, while others might be the only of its kind in an entire city and will therefore serve a much larger area. Proximity to other like facilities, how close the project is to the border of another block group, and if there are large roads or bodies of water that would discourage or prevent an area from being served or residents from a certain area from traveling to the project are important considerations. There are only two allowable methods for documenting the percentage of LMI persons within a specific service area: using summary data that is published by HUD or conducting a survey. We will go over both methods briefly. HUD allows us to use the American Community Survey, or ACS data, and look at the block groups that the project serves to determine the population, the LMI population, and to calculate the percentage of LMI benefit. We can go straight to the link shown on the screen and we can look at a map and search the area that we know is the service area for our specific project. This is a long link. Please know that you can arrive at the same HUD Exchange page location by using a search engine and typing something like CDBG LMI map. The link shown will take us to this HUD Exchange page. You can see that this is the page that has the LMI survey data for all block groups based on the 2011 to 2015 ACS. As of today, this is the dataset that is allowable by HUD. This may change in the future, but if that happens, you can go to this same page to find the active data that is being used. From here, we can do two things. If you already know the block groups that you're referencing, you're already aware of the block groups that are being served by your project, you can click here on ACS 2011 to 2015 All Block Groups. This will take you to a spreadsheet. The pieces of information that we're looking for are low mod universe, which is the total population, and we are looking for low mod, which is the total LMI population. The percentage of LMI population is calculated for us, shown as low mod percent. In the first block group shown, you can see that the population is 650, LMI is 230, and the resulting percentage is 35.38%. You may not know exactly what census tract and block groups you're looking for, so we'll go back to the original page from the link and select map instead. Map application will take you to the ArcGIS page. From that point, you can select view. We can search for any address in the map. For example, there is a park located at this address. There are several base maps that can be used. I'm going to zoom out and use a light base map so that we can see and discuss the block group boundaries. At this point, we would already know our service area. So let's say, just as an example, at this point, you've already done the work to determine your service area, so you would somehow overlay that information with the map shown on the screen so that you could match it up to which block groups you needed to look at. If your service area encompasses most or a good portion of the block group, you can go ahead and include it. We understand that it won't always match up exactly the boundaries of the service area and the boundaries of the block group, but you want to use your best judgment in how to incorporate the block groups into the service area that you've predetermined. For this imaginary example, let's say that we had determined the service area encompassed the block groups that the park resides in, the block group to the left of it on the map, as well as this block group above it. This is a good example because you can see that this park is very close to the boundary. So unless this is a road that people will not cross, or if there's some other reason, it wouldn't usually be appropriate to exclude the block group above it. This may not be the case in every situation, but in general, you wouldn't want to exclude a block group where the project was occurring so close to the boundary. You can click on the block group that you need information on. You'll see that actually 4 pieces of data are pulled up. 4 different data sets are pulled up when I click there. We need to make sure we look at which one. Right now it's showing us the CDP. That's not what we're trying to reference. If we click to the right, now it's showing us the information for Volusia County as a whole. We are not referencing that. Next, there's a subdivision. And lastly, we can see the block group information. So this specific block group that the park is located in is Census Tract 90702, block group 1. Those same pieces of information that we found in the list are shown here. Low mod universe, 1,595. That's the population in the block group. Low mod, 1,115. That's the number of LMI population within the total population. And right here they have the percentage calculated for us, 69.91. We need to gather that information for each of the 3 block groups, and then we calculate the totals. It is not appropriate. This is a common misconception. It is not appropriate to assume or base eligibility on the fact that the park itself is in a block group with a high LMI population percentage. That is not enough. That does not meet a national objective on its own. You must show that the total service area is at a high enough LMI percentage. So we have to do the math to add them all together. Likewise, it would not be appropriate to assume that a project was ineligible just because it was within a block group with a low LMI percentage. For example, here's a block group right here, 90702, block group 3. The low mod percentage is 40.56. If a project is located within that block group, it might still be eligible. It's a might because you have to do the math. You have to find the entire service area, collect all the block groups data related to that service area, and do the calculation. We can do a quick little calculation here to combine the 3 block groups that we looked at. I pulled the total population, the LMI population, and the LMI percent just for reference. We're not actually using that in our calculation. It's really important that we use these totals to calculate the LMI percentage benefit. A mistake that people often make is averaging the percentages of the 3 or however many they selected. That will not get you the correct number. You do need to add the population, the LMI population, and then calculate the percentage. This example is a very clear high LMI percentage. Let's imagine instead that we were looking at performing a project in Census Tract 90702, Block Group 2. We can see that the LMI percentage is above 51%. However, we also know that 90701 Block Group 4 is within the service area. We need to include both block groups. We must calculate the totals. Now we have a result where that percentage LMI population is 49.15, quite a big difference in when including both of the block groups. but this is the accurate information and this is the data that must be used, the calculation that must be used in any CDBG funding applications if that is the accurate service area. There may be times when the summary data provided by HUD does not accurately reflect or represent the service area of the project, and you believe that the population is different than it's noted in the data. That could be because the data is older and there has been some kind of change in the area, in the neighborhood, a reason you feel that there's more low income population than is shown. Or maybe it's just that the service area doesn't line up well. You could be doing a project that just services a couple blocks instead of an entire block group. And in that case, you would want to go ahead and do a survey. HUD does provide a CPD notice which thoroughly goes through the steps on the survey, so we're not going to go into too much detail in this video. CPD Notice 14-013 does a great job of breaking down the process of conducting an income survey, giving background terminology, and providing more information about the methodology that should be used. I'm going to scroll down here to where the steps are. So they give some general steps and then they get into more detail, the types of questionnaires that you can do, the disadvantages and the advantages to each type. Developing a questionnaire, it's a pretty simple process. You're not asking them a ton of information, and that's what makes residents more likely to provide the information. Is we're going to go ahead and keep it pretty simple, just asking for what we need to know. It's very important that you've defined the population, which would be the service area. One thing that's really important is figuring out how big of a sample size you need. You need to figure that out before you start doing the survey itself. If you're only serving 20, 30, 40 households, it's most likely that you're going to need to conduct an entire census, meaning you're going to need to survey the entire population. However, if you're looking at something larger, 200, 250, you can have some different sample sizes. HUD provides a website here that can be used to help you determine the necessary sample size. This is important because if you don't have the correct sample size, then your survey could be deemed non-representative of the entire population. I'm not going to state everything that's in this notice because it's really important that anyone considering an income survey reads through the recommendations and the guidelines within the CPD notice. I do want to point out here that at the end, there is a worksheet provided that you would use in order to determine your LMI population. Just like we did when using the summary data, at the end, we calculated an LMI percentage. We have gone through the steps in determining service areas and LMI population. In closing, please remember to document, document, document. Create maps and narrative explaining how you arrived at the answers you did and to accurately support the service areas and the LMI population that you are reporting. Thank you.